I built an AI agent that catches duplicate invoices before they turn into duplicate payments, and that's even when the invoice numbers are completely different. So the problem we're solving for is when a vendor submits an invoice. A few weeks later, they might resubmit that same invoice because they haven't seen a payment yet. And when they resubmit, sometimes that's with a completely different invoice number. So your AP team, not realizing it, will end up entering both. Now, research from APQC puts duplicate payments at about 1 to 2% of total AP spend. Most of this wasteful spend gets caught months later during annual audits, and by then you're chasing refunds instead of actually preventing the money from going out in the first place. Now, the full workflow template that we're going to walk through is completely free and available at the link in the description. So I'm going to show you this in N8N, but this same logic will also work in Power Automate, Custom Code, or any workflow tool that can call APIs and use LLMs. Now, this workflow will fire after an invoice is entered into your ERP, but before it's approved for payment. So if your system has a staging area before entry, you can catch them even earlier, so we're working with what's realistic for most businesses. This first node is going to pull the new invoice's key fields: the vendor ID, the invoice number, the amount, the date, and the line item descriptions. The second node is going to run the exact match check. This is a database query checking your ERP for any existing invoices from the same vendor with the same invoice number. If it finds one, the workflow flags it immediately and stops. If there's no exact match, the next node runs a database pre-filter. This is a query and it's not using AI. It just pulls any invoice or payments from the same vendor in the last 90 days or whatever criteria you like, where the amount is within the threshold you configured. Most invoices here are going to return 0 candidates and the workflow is going to be done because there's not going to be a duplicate for most invoices. Now you might wonder, why not send every invoice to the AI and let it figure it out? Well, there's 2 reasons. One is the query takes milliseconds and costs nothing. An LLM call will take seconds and cost money for each call. So we'll let the database do the filtering and only bring in the AI when there's actually something ambiguous for it to look at and interpret. Now when the pre-filter does return candidates, now the AI agent steps in. The workflow will then send the new invoice and the candidates to an LLM node. And this is the part that needs AI. The agent will read the line item descriptions on both invoices and determine whether they're describing the same work or goods. An invoice for network infrastructure consulting from March 2026 and a previous payment for IT consulting services from March 2026 look completely different if we were doing a string comparison. Now, the agent can read that and recognize that they're actually probably the same engagement given the dates and the amounts are similar. Now, the agent can also check PO references. If both invoices reference the same PO, that's a strong signal that these are duplicates. If the new invoice references a PO with 0 remaining balance, the signal is even stronger that it's a duplicate because that PO has already been fully invoiced. So now the agent will return its assessment with the reasoning attached. Now from here, the routing node will apply your escalation rules. When there's a high confidence match on invoices over your dollar threshold, we can say that will go to the controller and then also your AP specialist. The medium confidence matches will just go to the AP specialist, and the notifications will show both invoices side by side with the agent's reasoning and an option to confirm or dismiss the duplicate. So you can tune these thresholds based on your volume, and if you're getting too many false alerts, widen the tolerance or shorten the look back window. This template has a good starting point for both. So let me show you how this looks when it's running. Here's an invoice that just came in. The vendor is Apex Consulting and it's for $14,200 dated March 15th. The line item says Strategy Consulting Phase 2. So the workflow triggers, an exact match comes back clean, there's a different invoice number, and our pre-filter finds one candidate. It's a payment for March 3rd, also for $14,200 from the same vendor. From here, the agent will fire. The previous invoice said Strategic Advisory Services Phase 2, and both reference the same PO with 0 remaining balance. So here you can see the reasoning. It says potential duplicate, there's an identical amount, the same vendor, 12 days apart, and the descriptions both reference that same consulting engagement. So this is a high confidence match. It's over $10,000, so we'll see that our controller and our specialist with both invoices and the reasoning attached are both going to get that Slack alert so they can make the quick action or decision. Now, there are ways we can completely automate this process, but this is just a quick look. Now, a company running $20 million annually through AP would typically see $200,000 to $400,000 in duplicate payments per year. That's based on the APQC benchmarks of a 1 to 2% duplicate invoice rate. Now, most of those, as I mentioned, are going to get caught months later during your audits. But with this agent, you can catch them before approvals. You prevent the overpayment entirely. And then your AP team is going to get that time back, which they spend manually cross-referencing invoices against payment history. Now, ideally, you'd run this check before the invoice is even created. You block the duplicate at the source, but that will mean changing your intake workflow entirely, and most companies aren't ready to do that from day one. So what this workflow does is it plugs into what you already have. You can start catching your duplicates immediately, and when you're ready to move to the checkpoint earlier, the detection logic is going to be exactly the same. So the full workflow, matching rules, thresholds, and escalation paths, it's all free to download and available in the link in the description. And if you want me to build something like this for your team, you can book a call at the link in the description.